if I may, Glenn has a special caller call in. A man known for his straight shooting demeanor, who never complains no matter how bad things get, and is always full of detailed solutions to modern problems. That's right. Donald Trump calls in, feet up, ass out, covered in Cheeto dust and ketchup, and straight from the Mar-a-Lago omelet bar. Donald Trump warns of Russia and China's dangerous unification. The dangerous unification of a country that doesn't really have anything to offer China that China couldn't just take from it, and another country that's getting old before it gets rich. Okay, it's going to be great. I reserve the right to bail out of this because it's fucking boring, by the way. If I decide to, that's just all there is. By the way, welcome chat room. Again, gather round. If you're in the bunker, you might want to go get a rag and sponge your beverage off the screen. Just wipe it off there when I made you realize that you've built yourself a doom shelter. China. All right, here we go. This is Donald Trump warns of Russia and China's dangerous unification, which he will spell out not only in the geopolitical terms, and if he talks too fast, I can pause it and kind of reference any of the UN documents that he'll no doubt drop on your head, and any graphs and maths and things like that. If you because he's not just going to blather and mention the country's names a bunch.
Mr. President, how are you, sir?
Hi, Glenn.
It's good to talk to you.
How are you?
Hi, Glenn. Hi.
Very good. Good to talk.
Yes, I'm very good. I'm really good. I couldn't be better. Thanks for calling the show. By the way, is your bunker ready? I'm fine. I'm fine. Is your bunker ready, though? God, that is beans and fire. I need those water matches that you can strike under one. I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm going to be fine. I'm great, Mr. President. Thanks for asking. Bye. Oh, it's okay. All right. I mean, I do have, you understand, I have a chip on my shoulder for assholes like this and Russell Brand and Alex Jones, who are like, doomsday's right around the corner. The world is run by lizard people from another planet who eat baby milkshakes, and every politician and police officer you meet is a pedophile with razor sharp teeth and stuff. But you know what? The game this weekend, man, oh Shevitz, I got $10 on the 40-somethingers. And I hope it goes well, right? Anyways, boy, Sonic's delicious.
Thank you. I'm great, and I have to thank you.
I'm great. I have to thank you for the end of the world.
You for bringing so much attention to what's happening in Ohio, and finally,
what is happening in Ohio? Oh, the cleanup after the Republican governor blew up a train full of chemicals because the train company told him it was okay.
Getting Buttigieg to show up, who was there yesterday, and blaming you for the disaster somehow or another. But thank you.
Well, here's the thing, and this is great that he brings it up too. I'm very happy, even though I'm a little bit worried. Pardon me, a little panic attack. I'm fine. How many Republicans? Wait for it. How many Republicans are going to, do you think, vote for the electronic brake rule when it's reintroduced by the Biden administration? And how many of them are going to vote for subsidies for train companies to implement said braking system? But I cannot wait to see what the vote count is on that.
I didn't hear that. I can imagine. They always do that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Incredible.
What did you learn from the people of East Palestine?
Well, they ate a lot of McDonald's. They have a trap house on the edge of town. They've had 27 pedophiles arrested there, and they still can't shut it down. It's like drugs, 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 drugs. And these people are the salt of the earth, Glenn. And so we need quick trial so I can kill most of the people in East Palestine.
The unity is incredible. The relationship to each other, the working with each other. The mayor was a great guy. I did ask a question, what is your crime rate? And it's almost zero. So you
Almost. Almost. Is it almost zero? All right, let's see. East. Let's see. Palestine, Ohio. There we go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, East Palestine drug house visited by 27 people with criminal records to remain boarded up. East Palestine, Ohio. If you're a police officer in the village of East Palestine, chances are there is one address engraved in your brain: 219 Wood Street. The house, which has been boarded up since Columbiana County Prosecutor Vito Abruzino, I'm not kidding, won a temporary restraining order May 10th declaring the property a nuisance, will remain boarded up until May 10th, 2023, after an agreement was reached last week in common pleas court. Good Lord, is this a fiefdom? With the owner, 42-year-old Paul Kern. Abruzino filed the order yesterday to declare the house a nuisance after at least 19 visits by law enforcement between December 2018 and March of 2021, including in those visits were at least 5 search warrants. During those warrants or other police visits, authorities seized drug paraphernalia and drugs, the most common of which seemed to be, wait for it, methamphetamine. In his complaint last May, asking for a temporary restraining order, Ambrosino also documented all the people police encountered at the house when they were there. At least 27 of them had a criminal record, ranging from felonious assault to misdemeanor drug convictions. At least one of the people found there had criminal convictions dating back to 1998. Old school G. 2 people also overdosed at the home, and one of them died. Now, what was that again?
I did ask a question, what is your crime rate? And it's almost zero. So, here we are in New York and different cities where it's not only is it not zero, it's numbers that have never been seen before.
Yeah.
Well, technically, zero has never been seen before. It's the one number actually no one's ever actually seen. I mean, you've seen a representation of it, a little circle on a piece of paper, but zero doesn't exist because it is an absence of anything. But never mind the semantical, philosophical discussion. No, let's talk about the trap house at 219. Is that right? 219 Wood Street. I was right. 219 Wood Street. Police answered calls there ranging from custody disputes to drug sales. At a different call, a woman told police she was getting married soon and was inviting Vladimir Putin, President Obama, and Queen Elizabeth. She said the ceremony would be at Nelson Ledges. I guess that's a place nearby. Police. Brazino said it's important to make sure all complaints are documented. Chief James Brown did not return a call. Really? He did not get on up. James Brown did not return a call seeking comment. Palestine, station to station. All right, police. Village officials also cited the home under the nuisance ordinance after someone constructed a treehouse from wooden pallets, a tarp, and a television antenna. Almost zero. Abruzino said the county is also pursuing foreclosure against Kern because of a backlog of unpaid taxes at the house, so it should be out of his name shortly. During some of the time documented in the complaint, Kern wasn't even there. He was serving a 9-month prison term on 2 fifth-degree felony drug charges. That's one house. Thank you, Tobias, for the super chat. Thank you, Robert, as well. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for the thumbs up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stuff.
Horrible crime, too. Just be getting whacked from behind your head with a baseball bat. And
Just getting whacked from behind your head with a baseball bat. By the way, rip Portland and, of course, New York, where the only people that can hit a home run are the criminals, and the teams suck.
things. But I said, what's your crime rate? Almost like, gee, that's not a very smart question. I mean, we have almost no crime. Think of it. You know, it's a...
Yeah, the guy looked at you like you're an asshole. And by the way, he said, we watched him ask this question. So this is kind of great because we're hearing him tell Glenn his version of a story that we all watched happen. Remember the guy? Like, you got a crime? What's crime here? About zero, right? There's almost no crime. He started answering before the guy had a chance to, the mayor, and he largely seemed to derive his opinion of the crime rate because of the lack of black people he'd seen in town. And by crime, I mean black people. I mean, I'm dead serious. This motherfucker.
Beautiful thing when you look and see, and there's just a lot of love there, a lot of spirit. They happen to love me because
otherwise I wouldn't have gone. Fuck them, let them die.
I mean, the relationship, I got a vast amount of votes there, as you probably know. I think it used to be a Democrat area, too.
Yeah.
But I got a vast amount of votes, and it was...
Yeah, back before the Democrats switched sides over the civil rights issue when they were Republicans. Yeah, a good time. Hold on. My other earpiece is dying, so I've got to put it on there in case I have to switch this out while... Get back on there, you rat. Charge like the wind. There you go. Okay.
It was a beautiful thing to see how we just all came together, and boot edge, you know, was supposed to say boot edge. He was supposed to be there.
All right. By the way, does anybody know what the fuck he's talking about? Look, I know, and you know, that when he says peekaboo James about Letitia James, he's being racist adjacent. He is using a sound alike for a word about black people that he has heard before. The boot edge thing, I honest to God don't know why he thinks that's a dunk. I have no idea. But he insists on it, which makes it amazingly dumb.
There, and he decided not to come. And he came the next day, and he played to very small crowds. Nobody cared. It was too late. I mean, he should have
played to small crowds. Motherfucker, he's there to do a job.
Been there on day one, not weeks after this event happened. It was a very horrific event, actually.
Yeah, describe what happened. Walk us through the details. It was horrific. Yes, we know, but that's broad strokes. Tell us exactly what caused it, what incurred just after it, the decision made between the governor and the railroad to set the waste on fire, as rather than have the chemicals themselves seep into the groundwater as they stood, burning them up, and the remnants, carbon dioxide and all the other things and negative things, even the presence of possible dioxin and other stuff that can occur, being less toxic over time, technically, than all of that shit just flooding everywhere at the same time. You tell us, break that. I mean, you know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Break it down for us, please. Horrific is one thing, but
horrible event that people can't trust the EPA, or they don't trust the EPA.
You know, the fascists.
What? Wait a minute. Did you guys see the white flash? That means there was an edit.
Trust the EPA, or they don't trust the EPA.
You know, the fascists.
Mm-hmm. You know, the fascist what?
That are running the country take, you know, umbrage at it. They go after them.
The fascists that are running the country take umbrage at them. I don't know what that means. I understand that individually those words have meaning. I do not understand the 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 structure under which by which they were connected, the syntax and the meaning that was meant to be derived. Run that by me again before the news flash.
You know,
We don't trust the EPA.
you know, the fascists that are running the country take, you know, umbrage at it. They go after them. And that's in many different ways. You see it. You see it even with law firms. You see it with so many different things. They don't want.
Yeah. Did anybody get that? Anybody? What do you, and Glenn's like, yeah. I guess that's the only, by the way, sometimes that works if you're trying to get somebody who is absolutely talking out of their ass to move on to their next point where there might be something there. I got a feeling that, like anytime Glenn steps out of the shower across from a mirror, he's headed for disappointment.
They don't want to take on this fascist, disgusting system that our country's turning out to be.
This fascist, disgusting system that our country is turning out to be. How is it that this motherfucker actually makes Marjorie Taylor Greene sound articulate? Because she's saying the same shit, but in complete sentences. It's still gibberish.
We're becoming like a Soviet Union. It's disgraceful.
That's what we're becoming, like a Soviet Union. Hey, asshole, if we were like a Soviet Union, you as an opposition leader would be in jail already. No charges. Straight to the gulag. Here's your bowl of gruel, dummy.
And you see that in many ways. So now you tell me that even engineer types are doing that. It's just absolutely horrible what's happening to our country.
And by the way, he's referencing something they cut out in that piece, clearly, during that edit. So he took something that didn't make sense already and took any possible context out of it. So the rest of us are like, oh, okay, he's clearly, I guess, is an aneurysm. Is that what's happening?
In so many ways, whether it's the border, the military, what they're doing with the military, so many different things. It's
you mean increasing the budget by 3% every
year? Very sad,
so,
actually, and very dangerous, very bad.
This is the 1-year anniversary of the invasion into Ukraine. And Mr. President, I can't find a good guy here. I don't trust Putin. I don't think he's a good guy.
I don't think he's a good guy, but
I know, because I did a lot of work on your so-called impeachment and what was going on in Ukraine. That's wildly corrupt, and I don't trust our government, and I don't want to get into a war. And we are now losing we're close to losing the proxy part of this war, and it looks like we're headed towards something where we are going head to head. What is your take on this?
What is your take on this? And when are you and I going to move to an island in the South China Seas under the jurisdiction and the loving embrace of the CCP, where we'll truly be safe? He doesn't trust the government. Hey, asshole, if you went to Sonic and you bought the food and you didn't drive to a private chemical testing service to make sure that the food itself wasn't toxic, covered in mold or bacteria or poisonous in and of itself, beyond the lack of healthful quality that may lie underneath in fast food, and by the way, all of them, not just Sonic, not picking on them directly, then of course you trust the fucking government. You do. Every time you drive, dumb fuck, this guy flies all the time. Glenn Beck got in a plane and flew someplace in the last week, maybe even multiple times. And did he go, I'm not getting into the air, the government runs the FAA. The FAA is a government agency. I don't trust the fucking government.
How do we...
And here's the other thing. Like, it's enough to be cynical and nihilistic and whatever the fuck, but he's a fucking liar.
Stop this.
Well, I could stop it in 24 hours with my magic sprinkle dust. I would just throw some ketchup sprinkle some orange fairy dust all over them, and say, and so you shall, blink, and they would all magically be at peace.
So it's a very interesting question, and I have a little more experience because I dealt with Zelensky. I made one phone call, and then I made a second call. These were two congratulatory calls, once when he won first phase one of the election and one when he won phase two. They were, as I say, perfect phone calls. I got unanimous in the House acquittal, unanimous from every single Republican. Now, you haven't seen that too often, but every single Republican.
All right, not the question, dumb fuck. Has nothing to do with anything. And that's because Republicans were acting cult-like in their behavior towards you. Now, as you're on a hard fade, they are obviously moving away, and a lot of them are giving you the finger and distancing themselves, and that will increase.
Voted to acquit or to say innocent. And
say innocent. They had a vote to say innocent.
That was a nice thing to see. The Republicans.
It was nice that they had a vote to say innocent.
Came together, but I got to know a lot and learn a lot about the country. Now, you know, the country is considered extremely corrupt. In fact, we have a document that says you're supposed to report them, you know, everything. But it's a very
it's a whole document that I saw that said bang bang shkaboogie, flip flap, padoing. You know, it says beep boop bop beep boop bop. I'm sorry, I always get this way, guys, when he gets too technical. Is my nose bleeding? I understood there would be no math.
It is a very corrupt country.
How so? How so? How so? How is it? What is it? What's the what? How is it corrupt? In what way? In what way?
To like Zelensky for one specific reason. When they asked him what I said, was he threatened? He acted as though it was a disgrace that they were doing.
Right.
Yeah, he used your favorite word, disgrace.
This. He said, what did he do? He didn't do anything wrong. He just couldn't believe it, actually. It was just a con by Nancy Pelosi and the con artists. But Zelensky could have said, oh, I felt threatened. I felt this.
Yeah, you're, hey, dummy. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you're fucking up Beck's entire narrative. You're about to go into the territory where you say that Zelensky is trustworthy and that in spite of political pressure from Democrats, he will say the truth. Which, by the way, he obviously was friendly towards Trump when Trump was still president because his country was in danger during the entire presidency.
Felt that, could have said that, and it would have been harder. We would have still won because it's still, you know, fortunately we had this call taped in a way. It was taped by the people in government. And
yeah, those people. It was taped by the people in government. Yeah, you guys know who they are. The government taping people. Fuck me. I mean, honestly, does this not sound like somebody describing third person this story after skimming an article? He lived through this. He made the phone call. He was impeached over this. He had multiple meetings with his lawyers, and he's like, I don't know, at some point there was a thing, and people were, they were making noise and stuff like that, and I was just trying to have a Diet Coke and fart up the chair, and then they came in, they're gonna impeach you, and I was like, I don't even like peaches, and then I fell back asleep, and then next thing I know, I'm golfing.
In our government. And it was
good. Okay, so the government people that tape things in our government, at least it wasn't a foreign government that tapes things, that's fine with him.
I was very lucky that it was, because we had all these people making up different stories, saying they were on the call. Probably they weren't even on the call, but they were liars. And when the tape came out, that was the end of their whole ploy. Then they went on.
No, it wasn't. It was the basis of the impeachment. The Senate saved you. They just didn't vote to remove you. He was impeached.
To something new. But these are just terrible people. But Zelensky, as you remember very well, and it was quite beautiful because I didn't know, I didn't know him. I congratulated him on a victory.
Yeah, again, you're fucking up Glenn's entire narrative, dummy. I mean, I'm here for it. But Glenn just told you he doesn't trust anybody, and you're basically making the case that the most trustworthy person in this entire triangle is Vladimir Zelensky.
But he came out and he said absolutely he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't even know what they were talking about, and he acted that way. So I really respected that, because he could have gotten some good political points, and I really respected that. And
so
what was your question again?
I like him.
should we be sending more money, more arms? Now they're talking about planes. Should we be doing this?
Well, we're going to end up in World War III. That's one.
Excuse me. We were teetering on the brink 3 days ago. And I, at a certain point, teetering, I guess, has to become a lifestyle. You can only teeter so long before, at some point, that's just the way you stand. Are you teetering? No, I'm always like this. I'm always up on one leg. On a knife's edge. I live on a knife's edge. Really? Where's your kitchen?
Thing that's going to happen, and I've been sort of saying that for a long time now.
Yes, you've been sort of saying a lot, but you're not really saying anything. You're just sort of saying things.
Are you ready? Just in a very quick nutshell, this is a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were in office. Zero chance of it happening. I used to speak to Putin about it, got along with Putin very well. Don't forget, I was tougher in Russia than anybody else. You're one of the people that face that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Especially when you were all mad because the Congress made you.
I ended their pipeline. I sanctioned them. I did so many, and yet I still got along with Putin. That's sort of.
If you ended it, how did it get completed? Because it was, by the time Biden sanctioned it, it was a complete pipeline. They were building it for 4 fucking years.
A trick. That's a hard trick. It's a talented trick. But I got along with him. But nobody. I was the one that sent in the javelins. I sent in.
You had to after the phone call.
Massive numbers of javelins, and
that Congress allocated through the budget.
And Biden and Obama sent in pillows.
Right.
And
that's because Yanukovych. This is before Yanukovych. Like, this is before Euromaidan. And then shortly thereafter, when they didn't know if it was going to be democratically run and a leader chosen by the people or another Russian puppet, they didn't want to send open, like, offensive weapons to the president of Ukraine at that point, when it really was corrupt, because the Russians would have had him use them on their own people, which they did.
I know.
In a very small number. But I gave them the javelins. When they wiped out those tanks, they wiped them out with the stuff I sent. There was nobody was as tough. And the javelins was a big deal. But the biggest deal was I shut down the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that nobody even heard of until I came along.
So
I let people know about it. Nobody heard of it.
When you go to the Nord Stream pipeline, which you did shut down, Biden opened up. Now there's some reporting that says
there's one reporter, Seymour Hersh, who is full of shit, and also stole valor from Rod Ridenour in the story about the My Lai massacre.
We blew it up. Biden did a covert mission and blew it up. Do you believe that?
Well, it could have been us, and it could have been Ukraine, and it could have been some third-party country that wants to see trouble. The one group,
just one of these little scrappy third-party countries, like I don't know, Azerbaijan or Google.
If it wasn't is Russia. They blame Russia for doing it. This is a main source of massive income to them.
No, it wasn't. It never opened, and it was never going to open.
They didn't blame.
It had been all expenditure at that point, and it was not going to be returned on its investment, and it was full of gas, and they would have had to vent what was in there and depressurize the gas that was in there back out of Russia when there was nobody at the facility that could do it intelligently, who wouldn't stand there with a fucking cigarette turning the valve with their other hand.
Blow it up to make a point. That's the one thing I can tell you for sure. Remember when it first happened? They said Russia did it. Russia always said Russia. And I lived for years with that, where everything gets blamed on Russia, gets blamed on you. These people are sick, I'm telling you. But It could have been. It could have been working in conjunction with Ukraine because Ukraine has total dominance over the United States. Total dominance. I mean,
Yes. I mean, Zelensky's a good guy, and he's a straight shooter, but he's got total dominance over the United States, which is crooked
we've given them.
and run by fascists. By the way, Zelensky, who's a good guy, has total control over the fascists who are running our country right now. In case anybody's doing some sort of like Venn diagram of the blood clot in his brain.
And probably $150 billion, and Europe has given them almost nothing. And that bothers me. That really bothers me because I had it out with them on NATO. You know, we were taking care of NATO. We were taking.
I know. Yeah. You mean where you're trying to get out of NATO and they called your bluff?
I got $450 billion from the European nations from NATO. That's the other thing. Nobody was tougher on them, but then they still beat us on trade because I had.
Because you suck?
That just about stopped. You know, Europe is almost as bad as.
Because he had. Wait a minute. You had it just about stopped? Am I the only person that remembers his campaign? I mean, I know it was 1,000 years ago. But am I the only person that remembers it at all? No. Everything's going to be easy. You could fix it all right away because we have very stupid people running things, and I know all the best people, and I'll bring them in, and you could solve this very, very quickly, and we'll tell them because remember that? Does anybody? Am I taking crazy pills?
China on dealing on trade. They're very, very restrictive, very, very tough. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products, meaning much of. They don't do. You know, they treat us. With a lack of respect. Well, they were starting to respect us a lot.
By the way, China is a net importer of food and energy. They are a gross importer of food, quite frankly, for the amount of food that they actually need. They're always behind the eight ball in that. Always. Europe is not. Unless, of course, you know, Russia attacks one of the bigger countries in the area that provides grain and you know, hay and livestock. That obviously that puts a little bit of a stranglehold on things. China will always be a bigger direct buyer of those kind of goods. They need them. Europe doesn't. And they're in competition with the US on the quality, amount, and type. Same thing as Japan. It's like Wagyu beef versus, you know, I don't know, fucking Longhorn Ranch in Texas or some shit.
And big. And we were straightening a lot of things out. But the saddest part about the war is that this is a war that should have never happened.
Correct.
Okay, so now it happened. Now you have to get people in the room. You have to knock heads, and you have to get it done. And that would mean saying things to Putin and saying things to Zelensky.
That's weird. I've never heard of. Is that how negotiations work? So you would have to, if I'm following you, you would have to. And I obviously not in the order that you're saying, but at some point in the you would have to say things to Russia, and then before or after, I'll leave that up to you. You would have to say things to Ukraine. Once you've said those things, do you have to say anything else? Do they say anything to you? No, probably not. You're right. No, that's all it takes. They would obviously if they say things back, then the whole thing it just. It's gone, obviously.
That they're not going to want to hear, and getting them into a room and getting it done. People are dying by the thousands. You know, Glenn.
Yes, Russians in particular.
When I see the reports that they knocked down a city, you know, these cities.
When I see the reports that they knocked down a city, who's they? Who would they be? Who's they? The they being whom?
Cities are being leveled. There's not a building standing in a lot of these cities. I've seen pictures that maybe other people don't get to see. Maybe.
Yeah, no, you got to obviously. You got, you know, you were invited to Putin's private Instagram.
They do, but or take a look at the newspaper when they have a topographical picture of a city. There's a one building standing. It's incredible, and then they say one person died and 3 people were injured. No. Many people died.
Right.
Okay. It's so bad. It's so dumb. It makes my ears ring, and I've got a little pain starting in the back of my head, and I think I smell almonds or Fruit Loops, one or the other. And it's so stupid that hey, fuck stick, you and the preppers, Trump, come here. These cities that you see wiped out, that have like one building left in them, and that building was blown up. Nobody's in that building anymore. Some people might have been hiding behind it, or might have been clearing stuff out of it when it was struck, and therefore 3, 5, 6 people might have been killed in that. But in these leveled cities, nobody goes, well, shit, Russia's blown up that building and 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 that building, and there's really only one building left. Let's all go into that building. Is that the level of strategery that we're dealing with in Trump world? I think so. I think that's the level of thought. I'm just gonna go with like at some point, Trump is kind of at the he hates these cans level.
Many people were badly injured, and we're not getting the true facts about what's happening in this war.
Let me ask you one.
Who's we? And by the way, why not? Don't you have Putin's red phone?
One more question, because I know you're on such a tight schedule.
He's very busy. Glenn. This is, look, his hot dog with ketchup on the bun is sitting there, and it's getting cold, Glenn. It's getting cold. And if he doesn't get to eat it soon, he's going to have to yell at someone that it was cold in the first place. And it's going to be your fault, Glenn. I hope you're happy with yourself.
So let me just ask you one more question. China is now offering to negotiate the peace there, but the Chinese just flew a spy balloon, which you know we didn't shoot down. But today we're finding out that a U-2 spy plane took pictures of it. It had a payload the size of 3 different buses. It was
3 different buses. So like a Greyhound, a school bus, and a short bus, or how were they arranged? 3 different buses. This is. I only pick on this because this is an attempt to exaggerate the severity of something simply using language when you don't have any facts that you can draw from. 3 different buses is fucking meaningless, but it paints a picture in his I don't think all of his listeners, if he has any at all, but at least the dumbest ones of a, oh my God, it's like this oblong crazy thing. It's like a Greyhound bus, and then like a rock and roll tour bus, and then like one of them shuttles they use at the villages, and it's all like cattywampus. Like it's an attempt to paint a picture of severity while drawing no actual important details into the conversation.
Was being navigated, solar panels creating energy for it.
Oh my God. Was it gay too? Solar panels? Jesus Christ. Was it flying to AOC's house? It was Green New Deal. Gay New Deal. It was Gay New Deal. It was a gay balloon.
And we
not solar panels.
Allowed it to fly over our missile silos and Strategic Air Command. This is dereliction of duty if we're being kind.
Well, what about the ones that flew over while Trump was president and he didn't even notice because he wasn't even looking? Also, being aware that it's flying, jamming it, blocking it from the ground so it can't see anything worthwhile as it goes over because you know exactly where it is, and then shooting it down, claiming it, and then going through what it's made up of, how it's controlled, what its capabilities are, because it's it's one of their top of the line contraptions, balloon contraptions anyways. Then that seemed like, no?
Well, there are those that say, as you know, that Biden and the Biden family are truly conflicted and compromised with respect to China.
Yes. We call those people morons.
There's a lot of money going around, and it's substantial.
And yes, like the $15 million you took out of that bank account you had there while you were president.
Money and big money. And
unlike the pissy little chump change that you had in your account, it's sad. It sounds like jealousy.
Decisions are being made. I mean, when you look at what they're doing to us on trade,
what are they doing to us on trade? Tell us all. What are they? Hold on one second, if I may. And I opened this up earlier, and I showed everybody this morning, but let's see, China. Okay, but tell us all what they're doing to us on trade. Explain to us, run us through it. And obviously you can broad strokes it for the noobs, but this is Glenn Beck you're talking to, and his audience, they're hip. They do their own research. Whip it out, motherfucker. Explain the compromat involved. No, all right. By the way, for those of you that are just listening while you're cleaning or whatever, Kyocera's president says Biden's chip controls will tank Chinese manufacturing. Producing in China and exporting abroad is no longer viable. Like now, not eventually, presently.
Giving back so much of what I won, and it's crazy.
Not at all. Not even close. We have made literally Biden has, if anything, doubled down on Trump's alleged policies, by the way, which were largely for show.
It doesn't make sense. It's like the border. It doesn't make sense to allow. It will be 15 million people pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in 27 years, it'll be 15 million people.
And 15 million. It's not 3. They used to say 3. The people are pouring in at will. I'm watching hospitals are being overrun and everything is.
Yeah. Are you watching World War Z?
Being overrun by people that are coming out of their prisons, are coming out.
Well, are they getting out of prison with injuries? I suppose that's the problem. I get it. Now it makes sense to me. I was always wondering about that whole thing, like where do the criminals go once they release them, whatever. Obviously, they go straight to the hospital because they're charging towards the U.S. border all the way across Mexico and Guatemala and I don't know, Venezuela, wherever the fuck they've been dumped out of. And obviously, because they're all homicidal lunatics high on fentanyl with a bag of it over their shoulder and a butcher knife, they're just stabbing each other as they're jogging towards the border. And by the time they get here, they need a blood transfusion, they need stitches, they probably need dental.
Of their mental institutions.
Yeah, they opened the doors to mental institutions, and lunatics, crazy people who think they are Napoleon and Jesus, and all the ones that obviously think they can walk on water are dead by the first pond, but the other ones. So they open up the mental institutions and they let them out, and they just know to go to the United States. Are you sure they don't just go? They're not. They don't do what most crazy people do when you let them out of an institution, which is try to walk home like a carrier pigeon.
They're overrunning our country. Who would say that that's good? I mean,
nobody, including Democrats. It isn't happening. No one wants that. No one's even pretending to want that. And no matter how many times you tell that, it ain't happening. Where is, because look, fuck, Brazil, all these other countries, they're highly populated countries. Mexico, big populations. Percentage-wise, that means, like any other country, they got about a 20% mental illness issue. Half of the people who have that, 50% of that 20%, we're talking about depression, anxiety, and fucking OCD, things like that, or whatever, manageable. And then maybe 2% overall of that 20% are homicidal maniacs and are ambulatory and can, don't try to like walk up to the first wall, with a painting on it and try to open it like a door and bang their head against the wall until they die. Like that 2%. So that they're letting those folks out, and those folks are magically, without prompting, making a beeline for the U.S. border. And in process, while they're doing it, they manage to stay crazy and crime free as they go through cartel areas. They don't manage to decide that, some cartel or, drug syndicate gang enforcer with a machine gun standing at a crossroads while they're tripping go, hey, are you my mother? Like, how does this work? I mean, I'm just saying it's a shitty pitch for a Netflix series.
And what person would say that that's good?
No one. No one. The question is, what person would say that that's actually happening? Because it's equally fucking stupid.
But with China, they are perhaps compromised by China because decisions are being
Wait a minute. I hope you mean the Bidens and not the crazy people from Guatemala.
made that are very strange. As an example, why wouldn't that have been shot down long before? Because those messages don't sit in that balloon. Those
Right.
the messages are immediately transmitted.
How? If we got airplanes flying around jamming the signal, how? How are they transmitting? Well, I mean, obviously, the tech. Probably, 5G? Everything in China is 5G.
On the second, they're immediately transmitted. So this thing...
So they've got a lot of pictures of people in Montana doing this. Chairman Xi, we got the pictures back from the spy balloon. Excellent. Let's get... Oh, my God. Oh, are those tits? Oh, that's a guy. He's mooning us. Sorry. Come... hold on. There's a couple of good ones. Middle finger, middle finger, middle finger, middle finger, middle finger. Somebody drew a dick on the ground with... What is that? Is that sheep? They just fed the sheep and they all... That's amazing. And Tennessee. That's Nashville. Oh, this looks like a music video flip book. Now more middle fingers. More ass.
Flew all across our country, did its work. It probably had nothing left to do. It was heading back. And then
it was heading back. It was its job was done. It was turning around and heading back to China with a sense of satisfaction.
They shot it down. The whole thing is crazy.
Easy, Geek Squad. Simmer down with the techno mumbo jumbo.
So many things are so wrong. Why don't we have voter ID? Why?
Why doesn't anyone else see these balloons in the... Can't you see the music notes in the air? I can almost touch them. Why don't we have voter ID?
Why are they allowing millions of people, and many of these people are terrorists and people that are going to be causing us problems? We're going to be feeling the border for many years to come.
Oh, yes. I'll often sometimes, when I'm alone, feel my own border. I make a run for the border.
No matter who it is.
Not border. Boner. That's what it was. I always get those words mixed up. I'm sorry.
We're going to feel it.
Open boner. Nah.
They are destroying and poisoning our country.
Both?
And you say, why are they doing this?
Yeah, what? Wouldn't destroying it be enough? Why would you have to poison? Is poisoning the method of destruction? Or what if you just poison it? It's not really destroyed. It's just sick, maybe.
Why are they doing it? But this is a...
Or are they doing it? Is the question I think that, in a real debate would be asked.
Family that could very well be compromised, because why are they allowing this to happen with respect to China? At the same time...
Allowing what? Allowing voter ID to not be done because Republicans vote against it because national ID is a form of like mark of the beast to them. And what does China have to do with the crazy people from Guatemala walking across the border? What? What?
The ultimate sin is taking place.
The Ultimate Sin is a very underrated Ozzy album, although I will say No Rest for the Wicked is my favorite, hands down. No More Tears has some great tracks on it, don't get me wrong. But top to tails, as a listenable album, I think personally, No Rest for the Wicked, all killer, no filler.
And I learned this when I was a young student studying history. Never.
Okay, here it comes. He didn't learn this while he was president. This is something he learned when he was a young student studying history. Back the fuck up. I want another run at this. This is going to be good.
Taking place. And I learned this when I was a young student studying history. Never let China and Russia unify.
Yeah.
And we have.
Okay, asshole. I got news for you. You're old as fuck. And technically speaking, when you were going through this, China was impoverished and a threat to no one. As a matter of fact, the opening of China by Nixon was the first sign that they were actually going to have any strength whatsoever as a country, because they were effectively letting open markets in and, allowing, being used as labor and being the factory of the world or whatever. Why not? Why wouldn't you want China and Russia to get together? Now, the last time they did it, and I don't know if maybe you missed this day in history, but when China decided to be a communist country, they decided to leech off of Russia their entire methodology. Mao decided that in his embarrassment at his own culture, that he viewed all of ancient Chinese culture that had been around for millennia, he viewed that as backwater and embarrassing and silly, and he looked longingly at the bland, concrete fascist architecture of the Soviet Union and the fake macho bluster, as he, in his advanced syphilis, believed he could never get an STD because he washed his genitals in the bodies of his concubines. Barf, barf. He recreated the Soviet Union as quickly as he possibly could in China. And you know what happened? 40 million Chinese people died of starvation. The last time China and Russia got together collectively, they lost about 120 million people. By the way, a bunch of them, for the record, on the Russian side, Ukrainians.
Let them unify. We forced them into a unification.
Yes, we pushed them together, and now they're joined at the esophagus.
We have.
And that's the most.
Yes, we have. You're right. You're so right. How?
Dangerous thing that can happen to our country.
I don't think so. I think North Korea and Iran deciding that both of them are fine with the world ending, and they just want to push the button together. That's probably a little closer, because I got news for you too. Russia's run by a bunch of hedonists who would rather be on a yacht smoking cigars, getting blown by a woman that would never give them the time of day if it wasn't by force or finance. And China's the same way. CCP is run by the same shit. All the guys in the upper CCP, all gross, disgusting, misogynistic, hedonistic fucks. Not a true believer among them. And none of them, by the way, believe in an afterlife where they'll get rewarded with, 27 virgins or sitting at the right hand of God. So they believe, at least in theory, no matter how much Putin fools around with this Orthodox Russian church horseshit that he actually doesn't believe at all, that they're effectively not a Darwinist. Even beyond atheism, they're Darwinists. So you die, that's it. No more fun, no more fucking, no more vodka, no more rich sauces on pastas.
Mr. President, your people are giving us the high sign that you have.
Yeah, that they always give when you've babbled past your limit.
I've got to go. I hope we have a chance to talk again soon.
That's not true, though. He doesn't actually.
It's been a while. It's good to talk to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
bet. God
Thanks,
bless.
Glenn.
You bet. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Yeah, bye, bye, bye. Okay, bye, 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 bye. Just a rampant pile of horse shit.